Show you something else. The original hole is way down there. That round hole there, it's pretty far down. That being said, I found a universal gas pedal, but it's really not looking like it's really meant for this kind of thing. So this actually would have to be mounted down here. So I got to cut a slit because this type of thing is a little different. And basically, this whole thing, moves up and down, and this thing goes on this side. Then I got to try to bolt these 4 bolts through and hold the nuts on the other side. And then the cable goes here, and it's all sticking out, but it's kind of sticking down where the exhaust may go. And I'm a little funny about that, Whereas a more conventional, like a GM style, the bracket is up here. The pedal is over here, and the bracket goes up, and there's a cable that goes way up, and it goes way up on top. Then it would come, somewhere in that area right there, right in line with the carburetor, pretty much. And I feel better with something like that because it's just, these hot rod things, they can work, but they're not always the best as far as design, because they're just doing something to make it look, unique, and it's sometimes not conducive to what we're doing, So I don't think I can use this. Okay, so this one has a vent going directly where you fill it, which is probably pretty good, but I guess it was not cost effective to reproduce it. But if you look at the tanks, the new one is bigger. So how they did that was they changed the angle of this, because if it continued with like a 45 like that one is, it wouldn't end up in the same place because it's physically longer. That being said, I don't see an issue with this, and it's good that you have more gas. My problem is the straps may not be big enough. So that becomes an issue that I'm not going to find out until I try to put it up there. The good news is it may not be that big where it makes a difference as far as the straps itself. It might just have to use like bigger bolts or something along those lines, put studs instead or something like that. But I have it pretty much lined up, and it's definitely bigger, but it does look like it comes at the same place roughly, but it's still a different angle, and it's bothering me just a little bit. And I'm really hoping it goes in this hole right, because I remember having to hack up the rays, but we didn't buy the tank that fit. We bought a tank that supposedly wasn't going to fit, and it's kind of not right if they're making this say that, okay, this is the right one, and it's really not, and you got to hack things up in order to make it work. That's kind of shitty. So I may have to read the ad to see what's going on there. But I can, we're going to put a vent in over here because that's what that's for, and that'll make up for that. That's fine, But other than that, this is I'm not really liking the way it's angling, because I remember having to hack out Ray's trunk. I mean, it was rotted anyway, but it's hard to do when it's not rotted, But this is a problem, It's looking like a problem, I should say. So I hope these people, because the guy's pretty good, and I don't know why they would specifically list it for the car and then it wouldn't be right, kind of thing. All right, so just to show you what I'm talking about, these are the holes here. I think I have the zoom on. So there's the mounting holes, and this is where the tank would normally lie, but it's bigger, so it actually covers up everything. Okay. So now let me put this jack up with my legs. Okay, so the tank is pretty much up. Here's the wire that I put on. You can see these straps here, they go all the way to this, they'll kind of stretch out. Might be able to go back a little bit, but what I'm thinking about doing is either using like this hole here, and I'm going to make another hole because I don't think I could use this too far away. Get something that hooks around this, or drill a hole through this and put one of those hooks that have the threaded rods on it. So that'll just come off at that angle. That'll straighten that out, and you tighten up, it'll stay up. Now, so staying up, I don't think is really that much of a big deal. But right here, this closes completely, but you see where this ends up? It ends up being right in the center. Now that I, well, it's a little, when it goes all the way up, it'll be a little bit higher. I don't want to go crazy on that, but, you know, to fill the tank, it's touching up here. But the other thing is that I want to put these rubber things on. So I don't know how much that's going to really make a difference, but 1/4 of an inch could still work, you know. So that was the whole thing I was thinking about, is also this might actually be able to go forward a little bit more. Where's my, I don't have the freaking light on in here. I don't know how much you're actually seeing of this even. I like my pocket. So there were the bolts I was saying. They go right here. It's totally covering. But like I said, I can hang it off this. I don't think that's an issue. Now, the question is, can I come, how much more forward can I come? Because it doesn't appear to be blocked per se. But these gussets back here could maybe prevent something. I don't know yet. But, oh yeah, look at that. I just got it to stick out a lot more. A lot is not a lot, but I mean, that's actually kind of doable, you know. And the gas cap can go on. And the other thing was, yeah, this is the new gas cap. Hang on a second. Yeah. So, yeah, the cap is nothing. That's very interesting. It's something I did not do with Ray's car. We just hacked it out because we ended up bolting it in the original spot, and we might have gotten the 54 straps, or whatever, the 55 straps, because that's what I think this tank is the same as. The guy really listed it wrong, but the thing is that I always knew that there was no tank, and I just instantly thought, oh, they started making the tank for it. What a smart move. There's a lot more people with this car than a Fairlane and stuff, I would think, but I could be wrong. I don't say how they don't make a gas tank for this car. It just drives me nuts, you know. And they're just, I guess, not getting enough complaints because everybody who's doing this is basically doing what we're doing, like making it fit. Oh wait, what am I doing? I'm looking for the rubber hoo-yah. Okay, this rubber hoo-yah, which is a little fucked up. Just a tiny bit. But this guy kind of aligns it in here. I mean, I guess it'll kind of keep it in place, but it's, the thing is that I just pulled up on it. If I could pull up on it, that means there's some ability to go higher, but this might be a little funny. That's the only thing. But as long as the cap can go on, I don't see how it would really, you know, terribly interfere. Keep pushing it down. Yeah, I'm wondering about if I space it down, it'll go further down in this thing here. But right now I don't have it on all the way. But I'm apparently not getting it down. Gas tank. This is, we might have to put a different piece of rubber there of some sort, make something, and at least it'll be functional. But honestly, this cap kind of fits like shit. But also I'm pushing down and the whole thing is going down because I only have it up, you know, a certain way with the thing. But just wanted to show you that. So now I put the jack more in the middle, and it's pretty much all the way up. so it's still not like 100%, but I was actually able to get this on, but still the cat fits like shit, but the seal is up higher, so I think it's just interfering and it's not allowing me to push down all the way. But I think I tried to do it without the seal, and it might just fit like shit. It actually is not terrible, to be honest. Let me just see if it's true. Oh, yes. Well, it still fits like shit. See, I'm pushing it. It's going down. It's bouncing off that shit. We'll see when it gets tightened how much better this fits, but it may need to like go on a few times to really get a better feel. Worst case scenario, we use your old one. At this point, let us see. This is your old one. Really in rough shape. And sometimes, what I did for my Cadillac, they didn't make a new one for the Cadillac. Even the guy who sold me the tank didn't come with a cap. And this is like falling apart. This has like a piece of gasket ready to fall inside the tank. So it's not in the greatest of shape. However, old technology, boom. Look how nice that fits. That fits so much better. What we can do is try to find out the correct number, because that's what I did. I paid $50 for I bought two. One was kind of rusty, but it was new, and I paid $50 for one, and I paid like $20 for the other, just so I had an extra one. And one really didn't, because it's supposed to be vented, and my old one was not venting, and the new one that was rusty was not venting either, so I got to dip it in solvent. But, worst case scenario, this fits so much better than the shit that they gave you, so... If anything, I complain about the gas. I just sent them pictures, but like I said, now that I put the car in, it doesn't fit, and I kind of knew it. Like I said, I keep repeating myself, but I'm pissed at myself that I didn't do that. But still, it's deceiving that he put down all passenger cars or something like that. But listen, even though the gasket's fucked up on this, it has a steel shim there that it's pressing up against, so that's pretty much all that's left. So. This will probably work. It's just not vented. The other one is vented. The new one, because it's always better to be vented. But it is what it is. Oh well. The gas tank is set up. I got the wire for the sending unit taped in. This is a ground I put in because you just never know if all the paint and everything, it doesn't really adhere to the car and create a ground, so I put it directly on one of the screws, so that shouldn't be a problem. I crazy glue these things on so they don't move on me, and that should help for the thing. These I had to re-crazy glue because I realized I had them too far forward because I was comparing it to that, but then the tank is bigger, or this one's bigger, so it ends up being, it'll end up hitting like this. This is sitting down further than this, so I want it back, so that's going to be fine, and it'll go where I need it. And here's what I did. See the hook? Hook. And then I got this guy here, and then when I put that'll go in, it'll conform to the angle that it's at, and that should work out pretty damn well, I must say. I don't think it's going to go all the way up, so I'm not going to run out of threads, but even then I can put a spacer. There's a lot I can do, so all good. So unfortunately, it still tries to bring the gas tank back. So the only thing I was trying to do now is I just removed the rubber from the back, and I put both rubbers further up to actually hit that platform, because it actually touched it anyway, despite there being rubber, so it was denting it here. So having it on top of those metal the original mounts, I think it'll keep it down in the back and up in the front, so it'll pivot it, and this will the end of this will go down a little bit, so we shall see. So I have all these extra pieces of linkage for the shifter. I bolted it into the original holes, and then I got the rubber kind of like laying up there, and I'm actually using the original bolt holes in that steel to make sure that it stays down in the front. I I just don't know how that's going to affect the angle, so I need two hands, but we'll see. Okay, so the end result is he's out. Put rubber on that spot, on the original spot that comes down, just so it's not wedged on, you know, metal on metal. You can see. So it's down a little bit more in the back, but when I put it in, it was all the way up on the top. And I didn't realize, I said, you know what, fuck this. As you can see, that's pretty damn lined up. All I did was stick this in there and just forced it down, and it went. So hopefully I didn't crack any solder points on the tank, but other than that, it fits. Crazy. Yeah, so I loosened this, thinking it was a fill line. It's a drain line. I might have to put Teflon on or something back because I didn't do it. There's nothing on this side. You had it on this side. Ends up being this one is over here and had a plug in it. I just took the plug out, but did not know that. I think that's 5/16, and I said I wanted to convert it to 3/8 anyway. I just wanted to make sure there was an inverted flare thing, and I'm going to make it work. I bought something to make it work. It should work. This is the plug, and I just keep getting surprised, but that's why it wasn't the right tank for the car. But I tell you, we made it fit, made it look right, you know, so that's the main thing. I'm shocked, to be honest. This is the special thing I bought, and I was prepared. I figured it would come with a plug with a washer, because if you use a straight cut or something like that, but this is inverted flare, 5/16 inverted flare to 3/8 tube. So we're going to have like 6 inches of rubber coming off this and then to the main line. So this is pretty fucking awesome to have that kind of adapter, because that's the right way to go. Because you see, the 5/16 goes down. The good about the adapter, they don't have to make the flare too big, so they keep it the same size all the way through. So it's a true 3/8 coming out of there, even though it's 5/16. I'm messing with, this is the other tranny that we got at the junkyard, the same as the one that's in your car. And I had mocked up this thing here because it's definitely, I had a problem. So this is the piece they gave you, and they wanted to use it with a different piece, but it has a different angle because it uses that other thing. In the end, I'm like, why do I need it? It had a rectangle in there. I just took a file and enlarged it, but then I realized what was happening is that when I had it on by itself, because it was like this originally, and then I was trying to heat it up and bend it, and then it broke off. So I said, oh, I'm not using the original piece. Anyway, the original piece kept getting in the way of this, which is the neutral safety switch. Okay, I had to add extra things because it gives you a whole bunch of different bolts, different sizes, and it uses different, it has the slots here, but it has to use these two bolts, and it has to be like right here, and I found these two copper washers along with the two aluminum ones that came with it. So as you can see, if this is park, it's hitting it. Okay, reverse, and then neutral hits it, and then drive, it pops out again. 3, 2, 1. So you see where one is, it's not hitting here. This one here is the one that's actually holding, because it's, like I said, it wrapped around, and they were basically both the same thing. So I just ended up flattening it out, and it broke. So I just flattened it out, and I'm going to weld it to each other, because when I put this one by itself, it was hitting this by the time it reached the second gear. So that means you wouldn't have been able to go all the way down. So either I had no neutral safety switch, or I just modified it. So what I'm going to do now is going to weld it here, and I'm going to weld it here, and then once I get it welded, I'll flip it over, and that way I mocked it on here, so I was able to do it in the garage when I had the heat on and stuff. But this is actually going to work out pretty well, because it should work with what we got going on with the shifter, and it's going to work with the neutral safety, so that you don't start it in gear accidentally. So I just took this out, and this is actually cleaner, but it smells like gas, and it's not exactly clean. Wasn't this new, or was it? Oh, look at that, FR, factory refurbished. I would gather that means. Looks like a crack, but no, it's just the way this is factory refurbished. Mine was factory refurbished, but it looked like brand new. But oh well, that was a long time ago, so that was like 8 years ago. But still, not as good as I expected. But you know, I'm sure it'll run fine. I'm sure they tested it. And all this is sealed, this stuff, and it says 10/11/24. I'm wondering if somebody fucking returned it on them and they gave you this. They swapped it out of the box and nobody really checked. It didn't look like it was opened, to be honest. But it's pretty dirty, I must say. I'm a little perturbed that. Okay, kind of looks like I got a lot done and I didn't videotape it. It's just because it's cold and I get a little tiny bit done every day and I just don't feel like putting on. Oh, by the way, when you do these sensors, I always put it. It looks like I have a lock looped on, but I have none on the bottom threads. That's because I wanted to make an electrical connection. So basically, if it bunches up at the end, it'll be fine. I put a bushing in here. That's a bushing because I wanted to use the original one because they give you something with this gauge kit, and I really didn't care for it because it only came out at a 45. I want to completely miss the HEI. That guy's been in there a long time, and I figured it's better quality. Just in case I put right stuff on that thing, I don't want to rip out the right stuff when I turn it out. But it's really more so of the angle here. I got something that's going to hold that cable. I can't find it though right now. It kind of reminds me of the thing that originally came with a lot of GM cars. It would snap over the dipstick tube and grab it. Because right now that's a horrible angle for this. But when it goes like this, it'll be a much better angle. I might even go under the sending unit. So it's a better thing, and then lengthen it because this is adjustable. I got the other sending unit in as well. It's just cold here. Today was actually a warmer day. It was 40. It's been so cold lately. But ultimately today, what I got done is the fuel line going from the carburetor up to here. And you see what I did? I put a little ferrule on it, you know. So I'm going to put my fill filter right here. And they come with different ends. And I wanted a threaded one, so I put it here. Because when I do the wiring, all this is going to go somewhere. I still need to get a PCV valve. Got to run wiring. I got to put oil in it. I got to prime it. And I got to put the distributor in. But got a lot of shit done. And this universal cable I had was such a piece of shit. The thing that it had to hold a cable, I said, okay, I'm going to put it in here. And I had a nut on both sides. And I started tightening it. And I used my electric ratchet. But it's like, it's so hard that it barely, and it just shot out somewhere. And I cannot find the piece. But I managed to find the other piece, and it was, the size of this cable here. This just pushes in. Over here, I had put a brass fitting here, which we know is bolt threads. So I used a jam nut, washers, and this locking tab here. And they didn't have the internal one, only the external. But I just wanted because the hole was kind of a little bit big for that. I didn't want it to pull through. So that went that. I did the same thing on the inside with the gas pedal. I used a Mustang gas pedal, and somebody changed they put this. This is a new Chinese super hard plastic thing. I ended up busting it, I guess. I guess this piece broke off because now it fits loosely. But what I did, he had an extra gas pedal, a brand new gas pedal for this car. And I made it go on here. First of all, I had to take off that. And it was held in. The bolt was right where I put the thing, So when I floor it, it's straight, but I'm not 100% sure how wonderful this is. I was thinking about threading the same thread as the thing there, This is the 3/8 thread, so it's the 3/16 brake fitting on one side, and then I have a nut behind it holding it in that spot. In the end, I can just get a GM cable. But, you don't know where it's really at. It's better to have something that's a little more universal. But you can get those cable stops anyway. I could have used that on a GM one, but what's the point of buying it, But I'm thinking about welding something flat on this because there's a bump out here where a thing used to go in. And, unless I could find that thing and somehow drill it into this and make it go, but then it's not going to articulate through the hole. It changes its position as it goes down, So, and it really wasn't feeling that tight. Why does it feel tight now? Huh, not terrible. But it's because it's kind of like, not on the same plane, because this is fixed no matter what. And I try to turn this to make it go. And right now, because it wasn't going to work being flush against the thing there, I had these 1-inch spaces that I had to pack in from the radiator. And I drilled out a hole, and I drilled out another hole here, and drilled out that insulation, and basically put these 1-inch spaces. I don't know if it's kind of like, it's mostly wobbling on this. It's kind of flexible, kind of ish. Now there's another hole here, another one to get something more supportive in the center as well. So it might be something to do. Not 100% sure yet. This thing here, it had a whole bunch of holes in it. It really wasn't going anywhere. This was air, and he doesn't believe he had heat. So far so good. I got to change the. I want to change the switch here. First of all, we lost the nuts. I don't know why and how, but it just fell out on me. I had put this in, so I converted it to brakes, power brakes, and I made an electrical switch, but I got the one that is cruise control because I'm thinking about the torque converter lockup switch thing. I put a neutral safety switch in right here, and what was funny is I couldn't use the original one, and I kind of modified the one that it came with. So this goes all the way over, and then it doesn't hit it, because what happened was when I hit it, I put it on. It was this angle, and that angle ends up hitting it, right there. So I welded one to the other, painted it up, put a new nut that had a locking tab, and put the tab on there. And then when you look from this side, okay, if that's park, okay, that's hitting the thing. That's neutral. I'm sorry, park, reverse, neutral, drive, 2, 3, 2, 1. And the rod should go from here to here with no problem. It's not the greatest thing, this shifter. And I don't know if I saw any other videos, but I may weld another thing here to make a brace. Even though this is very thick, it's still mild steel, and just like putting one little brace going across and tack welding it might make it that much stronger. I may also remove these shims, because I don't think it's really necessary. And big. I'm assuming the radiator is perpendicular to the car. I don't know if you can see it here, but the top of the fan is closer to the radiator than the bottom of the fan. So taking out one might do it. I assume that if it's on the center line, it's where it was before. I don't assume that the radiator would be, off, My other friend had one of these cars with the flathead. I can ask him, I don't know how much is going to work, but you see I ran the fuel line one piece, and even though this wasn't my best work with the lines, because you do shit on the road, it was rough, and I just bent it to whatever, but I kind of didn't get it underneath, so I figured if it ever moves, this part of the line, I made it down so I can bend it back up and go up and around. But as you can see, it goes down that hole there, and through here, all the way down the part to a little piece of rubber right there. And I put the ground wire in. I got to still fix the setting unit wire, because it's definitely messed up. But it's getting ready to roll soon, I think. I had the drive shaft on last week, and I got to put the negative cable in, and I got to do something with the solenoid. I have another solenoid because this one doesn't need a solenoid because it has one, but I want to put a solenoid in that place and put both positives on one side, because it's going to be something that turns on all the power in the car. because you're kind of mixing new with the old, and I wanted all new circuits on new wiring. So I got something like this. I got these junctions. I'm probably gonna fix his lights because the wires are all fucked up. They're all a mess, you know, because they're so old. And I don't have time to rebuild the whole car. But this is called a constant duty solenoid, and it's very similar to the one he has. And what it'll be is that one will turn on that fuse box and anything else that you want to add to it. It's just that fuse box does, this thing handles like 200 amps. So this is a new wire in for the starter. So I could run it the same way and put both on one side. That's a 6-volt one. It should handle the 12 volts with no problem. But I just think it's another cog in the line that may, you know, fuck up. But it's literally the same fucking thing. I can bolt it right on because then it saves me from putting things here and running a battery cable somewhere else to it. So I'm going to run a line coming off it to that mini fuse box. And I think it'll work out that way. And I'll put both battery cables on one side. Okay. I don't know if I can put both battery cables on the other side so it turns it on so nobody can like jump it without jumping this. You know, they'd have to know how to, you know, jump the ignition kind of thing. I'll see. You know, I may not do that way. It may just, because that should be on all the time, so it may just come from the battery. And because it's got to also, we got to also feed the power to the car, and I'm not quite sure. Yeah, that was it. That's the power to the car. So that would stay just the way it is. And as you can see, I put that protection around. It's getting me started on there. And I hope you can see it. And still got to do the heater hoses, which this heater box is kind of like I was telling them about the aftermarket stuff, the heat and AC. Definitely could fit anything with AC here, you know. We were discussing though this thing here because it seems to be an option for power steering box, like out of a newer Ford truck or something like that. People have done. Then I told him he's gonna have to change his pulleys, and that's another $100, you know, at least. I bought a set because I wasn't sure if he was gonna need it or not. But this is the one that came with the truck engine, and the AC one had an extra pulley in the front, so it used this one and this one. But when you put this kind of fan on, it blocks it. You know, so it just wasn't worth it right now. And I don't see, you can't really put a spacer on there. There's no more room. And then you really can't service it then. So I told him that we can use this for that and then just put electric steering in. Since, you know, got this nice alternator here. And has the five rib pulley. So, this is the gas line. Piece of rubber. Drain lines are not my best work, and I gotta kind of fix them on down as well. The training lines I really should have made them shorter and then re-flared it. But I'm like, the purpose of fucking buying something that's flared already, it's like So I just bent them out of the way a little bit, and hopefully I try to take up some of the room, but they don't bend like they used to. You know, it just seemed. I try to use a bender and it doesn't work. It's like almost better off bending it by hand when it comes to the Nick Cop stuff. So and then I got to make something that's going to work with all his, because this is all his gauges, all the car's electricity. So we're gonna probably put one of those things. As I tell him, I don't have time to do all this. You know, I'm rebuilding the whole fucking car, and as it is, I mean, these wires for the lights are just horrid. Look at this. Yeah. So, pretty bad. But what I'm doing is pretty darn good, I think, and it's gonna work well. I bought myself an extra inch by putting these guys in. If you haven't seen it in the early part of the video, I gotta put this horn back up, but that's, of course, I need to do the wiring too. I mean, it doesn't look like through this. Oh yeah, look at that. It is. You know. And then everything with this is the horn relay. It's like, I just want to run a new set of wires for that, you know, because the horn relay wire, it looks like this is the wire down here. It goes up. Hang on a second. This is the wire that comes out of the column, and it's going under the control arm, I noticed. Oh, wait a minute, hang on. So this is the wire here for the horn, it looks like, and it's coming up in a weird way. Maybe since I ran the brake lines a certain way, but it goes right here. We could just cut it off of there and put a regular relay and put new wires for it. I remember I got to bring trailer wiring. That's what I did for my 51 Cadillac. I put trailer wires because it was 4 in altogether, and it's 14 gauge, so it'll work well with this, and makes it easier to run 4 wires at a time, and it's cheaper. So I'm cold. I'm going to end this, but I'm making progress. Hopefully it doesn't sit too low in the end in front, but it kind of looks like it came with it, though. I must say, it looks pretty good. So this is the sending unit that comes with the gauges, and all you do would take these loose, and then you slide it all the way up, because it only has to be that high, and then you would cut the rod as well that comes with it that goes into here, and everything looks like it totally could be used until you go like this, and this is the gasket for the tank, because I had 2 of these gaskets. One came with the sending unit, and one came with the tank, but you can see that the holes don't line up. But this is more like the original. And since this was made for the original, that's why it matches with the original tank. As you can see, it's about the same size there. But the other one was noticeably bigger, and that's why you see the gasket that's off the new one, and it doesn't line up. So, oh well. That's a tad dry, don't you think? Is that a bearing, or is it a bushing? I think it's a bushing. I'm just trying to see how this thing comes out, and it's not looking good. It's very super weird. Why is it that I was able to get it out of other cars, but not this one? Oh, because it's actually welded to that? But it's not spinning when I turn it. That's the thing I don't understand. I'm turning this, and that ain't turning, but they're turning down there. Oh, so the center is spinning on the outside. What the hell is going on here with this? I understand there's not a rod inside, but there's got to be some kind of set screw or something that needs to be undone down here to get this off, apparently. I don't know. Listen, everybody can think I'm crazy or stupid, but this is definitely not what I expected here. Why does it need to be like that? Why does it need to be like this? If it's pinned or set screwed or something, I guess, is that moving? Nope. And that one's moving without because of the position it's in. So this one's freewheeling. There's got to be something. But this guy here is like kind of fixed to this. Oh wait, look at that. Oh, that's just a pin that goes in there. That's this separate from this? Well, now I just flipped it around. That's when you forget your reading glasses. You gotta see if that moves. Let's see what happens. Okay, so I separated this metal from the aluminum. This aluminum end, the pin came out, it slid off the back. So now we have this kind of lock washer thing here. I'm not really doing this very nicely as far as, you know, lining things up, just like pulling it out. But, oh, look at this. So, okay, so that's a pin that goes. So, okay, well, I just pushed that in. Oh, it came out the other side. So I guess it just slides out completely then. You would have to think. And it does. Whoosh. So now this guy should come off with its little hoo-yah. And then there's another one of these little things. And then you have this guy. And I'm quite puzzled why this would not come out. It might have something to do with this actually being in there. You know, the shift linkage here. And I think this... oh, there's a pin in there. Interesting. I get the pin for the handle, but I gather it's still like spring-loaded, but I guess that's the thing inside here. Perhaps if you take out the pin for this, it'll go. Because we're not using this rod anymore. It's an automatic transmission. I just thought the whole thing would come out. It's very odd. I guess I'll knock out that pin. Okay, out of much Googling, I realized that I did have to pop this pin. Push both pins in at the same time. It's a spring in the middle. It's very dry. I suppose if it was lubricated it would be easier, but then I pried it out. And whatever bushing is there gets beat up. And it gets a little bit fucked up here when you try to pry it. There's not much you can do. And then they still have this fucking thing. And I was trying to tap it, see if it would come out this way, thinking it was pressed into that thing, which it might be. But it looks like I'd have to support it. But I'm not thinking that... It seems like it's just pressed on both sides. Like you'd have to drill out each one of these guys, probably. That's my feeling. Boy, that's some bushing there. Whew. Is there any other bushings in here? No. Just a messy bunch of mess. Oof. This thing is really small. It really is small. The shaft is small, everything's small. It'd be interesting to see if those splines are the same on the electric steering unit. So I'm going to try to put that steering wheel on the other thing and see. Just I'm humoring myself. I just don't know, how much of the new column I could use technically. Imagine having tilt steering on an old car like this kind of thing. So that's what I'm going to do. Trying to dig this out was such a pain in the ass, it's not even funny. It ends up being that something real stupid happened. A washer, as stupid as this, basically, when I'm looking at it in the back, it was on the stud, and this guy was like this, preventing it from moving a millimeter. But I think also because this thing was painted, and it's painted so tight that I don't know if it's hard to believe that they masked it that well. I wonder if I just don't, it doesn't look like anybody had it out. And I'm curious how this generator amp gauge works, because there was no wires to it. There was a wire on the outside here. So I don't know if it's some kind of magnetic thing that it can sense the wiring. As you can see, like everything else, all these fucking connections are horrible. And I couldn't get in there, and then the clutch pedal was in the way. So I took out the clutch pedal, but then I had to take out the brake pedal to get the clutch pedal out because the bolt goes in through this way, and to get the clutch pedal out is on this side. So basically everything falls out. And I took out these two bolts here that hold the steering column in there, and I'm like, you know what? It's really not much more to pull out the column. And I'm like, let me go upstairs and try to find the electric steering thing. So there it is. And I don't know. I guess I'm doing this when I really wasn't really prepared for this. All right, so it's really bad at showing progress, but right here we have the steering box bolted back in. I wire-wheeled it and painted it, and it's full to the gills. It's not leaking a drop. I opened it up and it opened the fill plug, and it's totally filled. Only time it leaked is when I was drying the paint. I was holding it by the handle, it started dripping through here. Okay, so that's kind of expected. So right here you have it installed now without the tube on, and I have the thing, the steering wheel on. And the reason why I did that is because I'm about to cut the shaft. So the steering wheel has a mark in the middle here. It can only go on one way. And it's funny because Ford is like probably the first one to do that, because a lot of these cars all have like splines any which way. So you never know what you end up getting, you know, with your wheel alignment and whatnot. So I'm just, you know, giving a look here. And I made it. Of course, I just hit it with my back, my hood. Okay, so I'm not going to cut it on camera anyway, so it doesn't matter. Anyway, so I figured we got to cut it right about there, because I have to hold this up in place. And you see, I went to my friend's place that he does machining, and this guy here, it's exactly what I did with my 40 Buick. Basically, this guy here had, it was part of another thing that had splines in it, so this was no splines here. So we cut it off, and it actually happened to be 3/4, and this 3/4 fits fine, or will fit fine over that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill a hole through the shaft after he made a perfect hole using a V-block, and we're going to I'm going to drill right through and put a 5/16 bolt through there. Not 100% sure if I'm going to do that. I might just thread each side and put a bolt in each side. A lot of these things that you see that they don't necessarily have a joint on them, they can be straight, they can have a joint, and then they always tell you when it's smooth and round, they tell you it's a weldment, you know, or whatever. And I'm kind of a little against welding anything, because then this guy is not going to ever come off if it ever had to be rebuilt, because this one would have to be rebuilt for the car. It's not like you just swap it out and then, you know, let the guy deal with it, whoever's doing it. So I just don't see snapping this, even if the steering, I mean, there's still the same load on it, I gather, rather than, you know, yanking the wheel. But it's 5 turns, lock to lock, the steering box. You know, I mean, probably going to need one of those spinners. It's going to make it a lot easier, because it's going to feel like it never ends. In any case, where am I at? So it looks like I have there, and I already cut a piece of the thing there, the outside part of the shaft. See this? I cut off there. Cut this guy. It's about 9 inches long, and that should protrude enough. I got some bearings coming in. That what I want to do is I want to set a bearing in here that's the size for this, and it should fit inside here relatively snug, and put the shaft in there. And the reason why you do that is because, you know, it's a short run. It's not really going to be a big deal, and it's still going to be hooked up to the column, but, you know, to the new unit here. But you don't want to put a load, unnecessary side load. What if I'm a little bit off on that joint or something like that? No matter what, or if I basically set up the bottom part there, where I'm putting the outside shaft, bolting it on, and then putting in this bearing, it's going to find its center. And if it finds its center and it's on a nice bearing, it's going to be fine. See, this guy, there's usually a bushing here in the column that keeps it. So they have the bearing in the box, and then supported on the other end here, and then the whole tube is supported, you know, roughly in the middle here. So, and that was good enough. And I put the rod back in, and there's like no play. Just like there's no play in the box, there's zero play in the box. Any play is in the rest of the car, the steering components, but there's a bushing in there, okay? And I almost thought it was a bearing because I see little things. I mean, it could be lubed up, but there's really, I was spinning it around, there's no play in here. There's probably some kind of thing that like acts like dry graphite or something like that, that it just doesn't wear out. But I'll clean this up and paint it. But I'm going to have to cut it again. I'm going to have to cut it around here because this is where the unit's going to be in the center. That being said, also needs to be done. Oh yeah, by the way, there was lining up the shaft there, but it's only so I can line up the, the steering box to be somewhat in the center. It actually doesn't mean that much. That's why I marked the bottom, so I know the bottom is, because I can't see the top. You want to, I marked the whole line going down this way, but ultimately, when all is said and done, God forbid if you weren't 100% right, yeah, you can work it out with the tie rod. So, like, if we all get done and it's a little bit off, that'll get straightened out with the wheel on it. It's not a huge deal. You kind of want on-center mesh on anything, but it's not really an issue here. But also, this is a 36 spline right here. So this could be moved over a spline, and these are a lot heavier splines, but it's going to be able to be manipulated this way as well. So, like, if something was off between moving this and moving those splines, because this doesn't matter. There's no center here. It just doesn't matter where it goes. It depends where it's going into, So it should be fine, It really should not be an issue. I got to figure out how to mount that thing. But the other thing I had my friend machinist do, no, I don't see the piece. Hang on a second. Because this wouldn't be me if it wasn't messy. That's just it. You start to mess with the engine and the transmission, and then the gas tank, and now the dashboard, and then the dash, is a mess. And then he started taking apart the steering, and I'm like, I have the steering halfway apart. The guy wanted electric steering, so, and I had the unit already, so, because I think he's running out of money, and he can owe me, but just to get it done, because I have another car like this to do. I basically have to do the same thing. Not the gauges probably, but just like electric steering and the motor and training. Thank God, not gas tank on that other car. Where is the other piece I had my friend make? My button just break? Nope, it just came out. All right. What is going on here? All right, well, I'm going to make another video when I find that thing. Probably staring me right in the face. Anyway, so this is the original Toyota bearing on this. So he cut this off, where the splines where the thing went, and we drilled it out to the next size because it was kind of in between. It was more than a half, so we drilled it to 9/16. So we're gonna take this original shaft. When I cut it and I figure out how long it is, he's going to machine down about that much for me. So it inserts in, and it leaves me to a 1/4 inch, and then I'm going to weld it all the way around. Whether or not, I don't think I really need to machine it afterwards. It's not really important, other than getting off this bearing. This bearing is still fine. It's like, don't forget, these steering wheels, they don't wear out these bearings, But I wanted to do that, but he also machined it on this side, because this is something I bought from my 40 Buick. This is from a Jeep, and I have a Jeep horn button coming, because it's very imperative. I do something like this, I want the horn to work no matter what. And the thing is, there's a lot of people that pay $3,000 to get, I saw a guy with the same Buick as mine, my 40 Buick, and he shows that, look, electric steering works, and who knows how much he paid, and he has a horn button on the dashboard. Like, that is just so impractical, and the horn buttons are so nice and ornate that you want them to work. So I bought the proper wire, and I don't know if there's a contact missing in the horn pad or something like that. I got it apart, but there really wasn't much in there, so I don't think it's very complicated. But in any case, I got this Jeep thing on here, okay, and we machined it down, and then it goes on partially, and then it's like a press fit. And it press fit on beautifully, but I told him I wanted a little more. He wanted to machine it a little more just in case I had to go on further. So I just did this with a piece of wood, and then we got to solder a wire to this afterwards, and then we'll run the wire through here. I may make another hole because I don't know how much room I'm going to have because it's a relatively small thing. Like this fits inside the tube. Even the Ford, the old Ford, the Toyota bearing fits in here. So there's slag on this because I just cut it. I hope I'm right, but I believe I got it in. I got it in one of these guys. I got it in the slit part probably. I see. I definitely did that. But I bought a bunch of these bearings that would fit the shaft, not this one. This is much bigger. This part of the shaft.
and I fucked up this when I used the snap ring pliers to get this off. I got it off, but I got a 3/4. It's a little small, but it went on, and it's going to hold the bearing just fine. It's not going anywhere, you know, it's just it's a confined area. So you have the bushing in the front there, and then at some point this is going to be here. And it's probably not necessary, but the thing is that if it's got to be serviced, and this is absolutely not really being used when it's not, I just feel it's gonna hold better, because it's going to be somewhere around here or here, you know, and it's just going to hold like I'd like it to, you know, ultimately. Now, that being said, I don't know if I can do it, because if you look, this bearing here has to go all the way up this tube. And like I said, I just cut this with this, you know, pipe cut, and there's a big, you know, thing on that. You got to clean it up with the thing, but I guess now would be a time to test it. But I would want to make sure that I can get it in. And then, like, here's a screw hole that was holding the wiring and stuff. If it ends up, I don't think it's going to be that high, but if it is, that's another thing, you know. So like I can't go past certain things, because like I want to reuse that hole for the stuff, you know. And then this is the directional signal switch, and this directional signal switch was a mess. And basically, I mean, some of this wiring came off with just me trying to pull it out of its thing. Don't forget, all these cars, they all had these bullet connectors, so it'd be nice to try to convert it to something more modern. But the thing is, if you don't do these individual things, you never get them in and out of the column. And if you do it after the fact, then it may also be a problem. So I may have to do the same thing I have here. That way you can fish one wire through at a time. I number them in my head to where it's got to go on the other one. I don't know if we're going to do the wiring on the other side of that. It seems to be intact, but it would be really nice if all these wires were more flexible under the dashboard, because then it gives me more places I can choose to put the motor. And the motor matters, because it's like I'm going to put it where it's easiest, and then when I test it, I got to put the brake pedal back in. And I'm pretty sure where I put it, as long as I put it far forward, it's not going to be a problem with the brake pedal. Like, the brake pedal misses it, but it actually looks like if it needed to, it could go around it. So this guy didn't need to be any particular length. I can have more shaft come out of here with more getting the bearing in and getting this part inside the car. So once that's inside the car, it doesn't matter how long my bearing is. You know, my shaft is here, because I'll be able to do what I got to do. But I just gave a rough place where I'm going to cut it. I don't know if I'm going to keep it there. I'm going to double and triple check, because it matters. And I think I put the motor as far forward as possible. So it's going to be, I'll show you how I was kind of throwing it up there. I gotta find, you know, I don't have to put the original bolt in this back in, I don't think. I can just stick something in there. Hang on a second. Just stick a punch in the hole, I guess, will be kind of sort of okay. I am nowhere. I'm going to put it through this side, perhaps. There we go. Get in there. This side was bigger, so the punch doesn't make it. Anyway, so one day I'm going to buy a tripod to set it, but I'm moving around so much. Anyway, so it's a little hard to tell now because of the fact, like, I have to go underneath it, kind of. So, like, you know, I was putting this in place when this thing was gone, but, you know, you could see that, hang on, I'm like nowhere near the zip code, but like you can see how this brake pedal, it wraps around, and it's like, you can tell that the brake pedal is missing the column, right? So as long as I'm kind of within the boundaries here of the column, obviously it's going to be up,
and it gets a little close, but this thing is, I have, before that hits that, I go as far forward as possible, pretty much. And, by doing that, I gave it a little breathing room over there. And then I straightened this guy out. And then I said, okay, that line right there, as you can see, and it looks like I made it a little bit even longer, but it's still not going to hit that. And then there's always, possibility of going up, because this bracket is over here, that's on there, and you kind of want to use that bracket. And there's I can put a really long, like threaded rod to go up there. I'm not 100% what I'm doing yet. And then the threaded rod can maybe be adjusted or something like that. Different things are going through my head, but I was thinking about using, because this is where the clutch pedal would be. This side, I just got, like I said, a bunch here, but it's a fat thing that the edge of the clutch pedal would use, and I can make a bushing to go around that, so the brake pedal, it holds it in place. I can leave it loose until I'm ready to tighten it, and then I weld something, or something comes down from there to the motor, to this mounting spot right here, which would pretty much ensure that this would be the angle. And originally this was just a bracket. And speaking of bracket, the other bracket that was part of the front here that articulated the tilt steering on the modern car, you really can't do that on an old car. I was kind of fumbling that in my head, but it can't just be that angled U-joint moving. So this is the other thing that was holding it. This is where the tilt thing was. This actually fits around that. So this is another thing. I can kind of put this around that and come straight up with a piece of bar, angle iron, or something like that. And I can still make it that I could make a screw type thing that can adjust it, perhaps. But I was putting this around this, and not 100% sure. It's all close. This see, there's a little bit, but I can put a couple of washers in there, but something along those lines where this is the angle, and then this would be straight up and down, and then you make it so that the center line is here. That way, everything, that when you have the pin straight, you're basically on the center line. So that can point up, but it may have to be at an angle. This is how it was originally. I tried it on this side, and I realized I was totally wrong. So I had to go back. So this can go, because of these slots, I can kind of bolt the bolt there and just tighten the bolt, and it'll hold. So there's quite a few things can be done here to make this all work, And this guy here can be mounted 180 degrees off, have the bolts out. But it's actually pretty kick-ass. I must say, everything's going together pretty good. My 40 Buick was so much worse. Number one, I don't have automatic transmission. I had a 3-speed fucking Booyah that I made, and it's funny how I don't do the best work for myself, and I just use what I have. And I'm trying to be, I try to do better work for other people, but just to show you my project here, and I couldn't make this in one piece. This is the shaft, and then there's a shaft going through there. This is the shifting shaft. I actually put this together with one bolt, and when you tighten it, and you're putting pressure on it, it actually kind of locks in that direction. It's actually pretty okay, but this is a really heavy thing, and I supported it, and it doesn't look that great, but it worked, But I'm not ready to put it back together. This car is still a mess, and but ultimately, you see what I did there. You see, I machined the bearing to make it fit in my tube, because my tube is much bigger. And you can see that the actual tube itself, the rod itself, was 13/16, which is an unheard of thing, which is roughly 20 millimeter, and nothing is 20 millimeters. So I think there was a bearing. I did get a bearing, though, that it was 20 millimeter on the inside diameter, but then we had to machine the outside diameter, and I put it halfway in. This car has a whole bunch of measurements. It's 3/4 on the inside and 1 3/8 on the outside, even though it's 1.5 inches, the tubing. You got to get 1 3/8 to fit inside that bigger tubing. So, but the main thing is the 3/4 shaft is much easier to deal with, So I found a bunch of bearings. I'm going to get them all sent by Amazon overnight, and
I'll have a better idea of what I'm doing by tomorrow. But I should be able to cut that rod and then figure out how much I got to put in front of the unit at the very least, because once I cut it, I can kind of throw that thing on, and the length will still be the length, and then I'll figure out the whole thing with that thing, and then when I get the horn switch in, I can drill the hole, and you got to drill like a slot so the thing holds in with 2 screws. It's from a Jeep. Same thing I used on mine. In fact, I got you. It's not gonna work. No way. It's like I got enough projects apart. I don't want to revisit things that I'm not working on. Anyway, so this is where we're at. This guy will be tightened up and will stay in there. Like I said, you have a little, probably fine at center, but like in case anything is a little bit off here or there, it shouldn't be an issue. And even if the brake pedal ended up coming close to this, because I think I had to do it to mine, but I have a Nissan Cube, I think I used. And this is a friend's car. I used the Toyota Prius, but this is the Toyota Yaris. It's actually a smaller gear even, so it's even easier. And the thing is, you can shave this a little bit. You can shave off this, depending how you have it. You can give yourself a little extra room. But supposedly the Yaris is the way to go because it's the exact same thing. It's just smaller. So yeah, the plastic gear inside the brake. But don't forget, those cars have like 2 turns lock to lock. This is 5 turns. There's actually so little effort, even though it's very hard to steer these cars. 5 turns is better than some cars that have 4 turns, obviously. But with the 5 turns, it's gonna turn like butter as far as I'm concerned. It's gonna be like These things can turn a 2-turn car, a modern car, because those cars, if the steering goes out, it's very hard to work it. So if the steering went on this, you still have the regular steering that you had before. The only drawback on these things is the plastic gears, and supposedly they're available. It may actually be cheaper just to buy a whole new unit, but then you could just buy a whole new unit another used unit for your whole situation there. So there's a bearing, that's the locking thing. You see there's grease in there, and the blue thing is basically the plastic gear, from what I understand. But I even think I'm thinking now the Yaris maybe had some metal in it. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Because it's smaller, and the Toyota Prius had more plastic in it. And I'm thinking, oops, that's cool. Got a piece of the. What do I do here? It's fine. Anyway. So like I said, this can be turned 180 degrees as well. So if it's not user friendly this way because of all this, you can rotate it 180 and it'll work just the same. And then we got the brain box. We're gonna line up somewhere. Got to find a place for it under the dash. Yeah, there's a bunch of ideas going on right here, and I can't believe how quickly it's coming together. But I've done it already. I've done it a couple of times now between that car, which it's not done, but it's mostly done. It just has to be put together, and that's because I have the dashboard apart, and the same idea. I have a mess with the gauges, and the other car is driving today. It's granted, it's only a Ford Festiva, but it definitely seems like a cool concept, and that way, when he's ready to put AC on, because he would have had to pay an extra $100 for these guys, like it's virtually the same, except the ones that I picked up for a Camaro have the power steering is here and the AC is here, or the power steering, I don't know. This looks like it's for AC. But on this particular engine, it was for the power steering. So this power steering unit bolts with these 2 bolts and a couple, an exhaust bolt and whatnot. Because this was from a truck. So they added AC afterwards. So it came with a bolt-on thing here, and I couldn't get it to work with this fan. And I can't see putting a different fan in here, to be honest. So, in the end, it's a moot point. So at least you'll have a full V-belt. And here's the thing, the AC belt was in the front. What a pain in the ass, as opposed to having, you want access to your most used thing first, which is the alternator, and then the power steering, and then the AC. So, but the AC, he'll get some kind of AC unit. Definitely, I can make a bracket. I can do all that, and then the heater box is junk in this car, so it just serves a purpose that it'll all work out. He'll have good heat and AC. It'll all fit under the dash, and but we got to get that another day. I can't do that now. It's just too much, too many facets of the car being tackled at once, and it's kind of crazy. So, all things considered, I'm very happy with the way this is coming out, and just wanted to make that video and add it to the main one. If you can believe it, I was trying to cut the shaft with this. A lot of metal was coming out, but it just seemed like it was mushrooming it more than anything else. But I got a nice, then at least if I score it like this, then I know that it's perfect circle, but it's pretty deep. Not much, but I just figured I'm going to rest this guy up against it and slowly turn the wheel, turn the shaft, and everything should work with this. Just going like that, or this way. We'll see.